Hi tubers. We're in the basement shop, and today's adventure we're going to be working on the monster pit bike. Doesn't look much like a monster pit bike that I'm touching right here, but this is the back swing arm. And it would not be surprising for anybody to find themselves spending quite a bit of time working on the back swing arm for any of these things, because they are known for having trouble with the back wheel. Typically these bikes are between 90 and 125 cc's, and as a matter of fact, if you put something like the Lifan engine on it, Lifan, Lifan engine on it, 125 cc, it's got quite a bit of power, enough power that eventually the back wheel gets into trouble, especially if you're jumping it. So you could easily find yourself working on the back swing arm. And this particular back swing arm had a lot of troubles. First of all, they lost the pivot axle, the pivot shaft, whatever you want to call this. This was lost on the bike when I had it. So what they had was a carriage bolt, a long carriage bolt going through here that was too loose, so it was able to shuck about quite a bit within these bearings, within these swing arm bearings. So these swing arm bearings were pretty messed up, and I couldn't get the right size bolt, axle, whatever you want to call it, through here. So the first thing I had to do was get these out of here, and they're in a rubber grommet, right? And I had to get them out of here and clean them up. So I used a file and a little emery, and I tried to remove as little material as possible. So that was the first thing, and that, you know, not hard, but it took a while, because once again I wasn't going after making them loose, right? I wanted this to stay nice and tight within the swing arm. So that was problem number one. Problem number two, you can see that this is just made out of, I'm going to call it square stock. It's rectangular, obviously. And you can see it's quite hollow. So they had trouble with the back wheel, and I guess they lost a lot of parts. And once again, for the back wheel, for an axle, they just used another carriage bolt that was too loose, and then they put some half-inch Craftsman sockets, and the whole thing was a mess. They tightened it down and kind of crushed this in and crushed that in. So it was really quite a mess. They lost the adjusters, the thing that pulls the axle back to tighten up the chain. So I got it in here, and I worked at it to get these things straightened out again, to push these back out. And basically what I did is, before I think I had one, yeah. So I just basically took one of these and, you know, tapped it in and worked it in and out until I got these bent back out to where I needed them to be. So that was the first thing. The second thing, once again, I don't have adjusters, and I wanted to set it up so that when you tighten the axle down, it doesn't crush all of this in. So I came up with, these are just square bolts, right? And, oops, the axle's going to go right through there. And I'm just going to braze these in, right? Or quite honestly, I really don't have to, because they'll just tighten up against the axle. And then I'm using a washer in this case, but I'm just going to get something that fills in the end here, right, and set it up so it can chuck about. Probably I'll make something this size, right, and then an outer piece to push on it, and then when I tighten down, it'll move the axle back. And once again, given that it's as wide as it is, that'll keep from crushing this down. To make this really very easy. I mean, I went up to P&T Surplus and bought these things, and they're cheap. I don't know what he charged me, pennies a piece. Put it in the vise. I used an 11, I think this was 11/64. Anyway, I do have a kit, so I could show you. Excuse the mess. This is my basement, and this is my disorganized mind. Come on, lights. Here we are. So, what do I do with my little kit? Remember, disorganization is the sign of a healthy mind. So I must be very healthy. Yeah, a friend of mine does cleanups, and somebody was throwing this away, and I bought it from him. So I love this little kit. It wasn't cheap back then. That was quite a bit of money. Typically, I like to use the quarter 20, and it says the number 7. Number 7 is actually, I think it's 11/64, right? So I normally keep this nice kit here that goes there, and then the next one is 11/64. So anyhow, I hope you like my antique little kit. Anyway, so I drilled the hole, and once again 11/64. You know, you drill nice and slow. Don't wiggle the bit about. Put a little oil on it. Once you drill through, then you just tap it out. Typically, I normally go about a half a turn and back, and you know, another half a turn forward and a half a turn back. So easy enough to do. Hopefully people have tapped out machine holes for machine screws. And once again, doing this left-handed. So there we are. Right. So I have one for each side. What's next? And I might as well move things forward. I can't seem to find the right bolt to go on here. I'm not sure where I got this. I'm not sure if it was an eBay deal I picked up or what the story was. I can't quite find the right bolt. This one is close. It's off a Honda, but it looks like the thread pitch is a little coarser on this than that. This is finer. The bolt is finer. The axle's finer. So, but what I could do is just set it up like that when I put the bike together, just to kind of hold things together while I'm putting it all together. I do have the complete rear axle assembly now, but I have to work on the spacing. So the first thing I got to do is get the spacing for the sprocket correct, right? You want the sprocket to run true to the front sprocket, the engine sprocket to the back sprocket. So I have to get that spacing correct first. You don't want to be throwing the chain. Worst case, if you throw the chain, it's inconvenient, or best case, if you throw the chain, it's inconvenient. You have to stop and put it back on. Worst case, if you throw the chain, you could get hurt or damage the bike, right? And you really don't want to do that. So That's first. So that'll be one side. And then depending on where this side lands, I'll know how big a spacer to set up on this side. Put that on. Obviously, the axle will be going through these for the chain adjustments. Right. I still have to make the ends for it. So this bike, next time you see it, will be a roller. It'll be up on its on both tires and wheels. It'll be ready to move around. So I'm doing that. After that, I'll probably sort out the carburetor stuff, and then from there the electrical, and then it's just a matter of putting the skins on it, so to speak, to get the whole thing rolling. You know, I should work down here more often. Look at that. I just found a gear wrench kit that I wasn't cognizant that I had. My last few years working as an engineer, I was I kind of knew I was going to retire sooner or later, and I wanted to make sure that I bought everything that I might need, and a lot of I was getting great deals. I was buying a lot of stuff, and I was getting great deals on it. But the unfortunate thing is, a lot of that stuff has built up, and now that I actually did retire, it's time to kind of sort through all this stuff and figure out what I'm keeping, what I'm sending off to my son's place, and what should be finding a new home. A new home is in somebody else to use it, or a new home is in scrap. So that's kind of where I am with some of this stuff. And that wrench set is handy. I gotta take a look at it and see what it is. I mean, look at this, it still has the plastic on it. Life as a hoarder. Okay, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Please remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and we're coming upon the holiday season. So, practice the holidays of your faith and have a great time with friends and family. Take care now. Bye.